Namo Namaha, Bhaktam Sarvesham Hartam Swagatam. Welcome back to the channel Sanskrit Sopanam. Again, I want to thank all of you for being patient and for being forgiving, because I know a lot of time has elapsed from my last video. But as I informed, I was shifting to a new place, and then shifting your entire household to a new place, then setting that new place up from ground zero, from scratch. It always takes a bit longer than what you plan and how you anticipate things going. So the same happened to me, but all's well now. Everything is set up, and so I hope I can be again consistent in bringing out these videos for you. So a big thank you for all of you for waiting here for me, and also in whatever way you celebrate the auspicious day that just happened yesterday. In whatever region you reside, in whatever way you celebrate, maybe you celebrate it as Khichdi, or as Makar Sankranti, or as Poshpodu, or as Pongal, as Saja, as Magha. In whatever way you celebrate this beginning of a new cycle, I wish all of you that this new cycle, this new year, brings lot of goodness, lot of auspiciousness in your life, and you can find the answers to your great grand questions that all of you may have. So I hope this year brings a lot of goodness and lot of love to all of you. And now, coming back to our Learning Sanskrit through Gita series, I hope that all of you remember the context, because it took me also some revision to come back to this zone again. If you remember, in our last videos, the context was Arjuna inquired about what are the characteristics of a Sthit Prajna person. And in response to that, in the recent shlokas that we covered, Krishna, he gave beautiful replies in what is a Sthit Prajna person, a man of steady wisdom, of firm intelligence. And what are the key characteristics? Just to quickly refresh our concept so that we are on the same page. What were the key characteristics? So the first and foremost was, such a Sthit Prajna person is always satisfied in the self. Atmanyev Atmana Tushtaha. Always satisfied in the self, by the self, because he has that intricate knowledge about the self, about the nature of the self. So Atmanyev Atmana Tushtaha. And then another thing about such a Sthit Prajna person is, such a person remains steady, remains firm, remains of equanimous mind in both the good times and the bad times. Dukkheshu anudignamanaha, sukheshu vigatasprahaha. So such a person has an unwavering, equanimous mind. And then lastly, such a person does not submit to attachment, to either the aversions or some likes or some pleasures. So such a person remains unattached. Sarvatra anabhisnehaha. So such a person remains unattached through and through. So these were some key characteristics of a Sthit Prajna person. And then in the very recent shloka that we saw, there was yet another characteristic, and that was, such a Sthit Prajna person has a knack of withdrawing his senses from the sense objects. Okay, and a beautiful simile, a beautiful upama was also given by Shri Krishna, that just as a tortoise, when that senses any danger, he quickly withdraws his limbs into its own hard shell, in that safety of that hard shell. So just like a tortoise withdraws its limbs, such in the same manner, a Sthit Prajna person also at will can withdraw his senses from the sense objects. Okay, such is his command over his senses. Okay, such as his command over his entire body mind complex. Okay, so such was the characteristics of a Sthit Prajna person. Beautiful shlokas that we covered recently. And now in this 59th shloka of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is again moving on into that same discussion. He's again going to inform us something, and again he's addressing Arjuna, and through Arjuna he's addressing all of us, all of humanity, so that we can learn from these things, we can apply these things in our day-to-day life, and we can lead a better and more prosperous life. So what is it that Krishna wants us to understand, and what is it that we can learn from Sanskrit point of view? All this we will see. So without wasting any time, let's quickly dive in today's video. Okay, so this is our shloka for today. Let me go through the shloka once. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Okay, so again the same drill that we used to follow earlier, that this is our original Mula shloka, and this is the Sandhi Vicheda, the Padacheda version of the same shloka. Okay, what all sandhis we can spot here? So first of all, we can spot a sandhi between Vishaya and Vinivartante. You can see The visarga was there in the original pada, but the visarga is now disappeared. So this is of course the visarga lopa sandhi. So after a dirgha a, you have a visarga, and following that visarga, you have a soft consonant. You have a mridu vyanjana, and that is why visarga lopa happens. That is what has happened here. Okay. And then if you move on, we spot another sandhi here. Again, this sandhi I don't usually address, but this is also a sandhi. Again, I keep on reminding this thing, that whenever at the end of a pada you have a makara, and following that makara you have a consonant, then this makara changes into anuswara. And this is anuswara sandhi. Okay, and then moving on, we have a sandhi that is happening between these two padas, rasaha and api. What sandhi is this? So see, first of all, visarga changes into u. And that is part of Uttva Sandhihi. The Uttvam of Visarga is happening, so this is Uttva Sandhihi. But as soon as the Visarga changes into U, it immediately combines with the preceding Raswa A, and they both change into O. Why? Because Guna Sandhihi. So Rasaha, this changes into Raso. This is due to Uttva Sandhi followed by the Guna Sandhi. Correct? But then there is yet another step, the third step. And what is that? So at the end of a pada you have a O, which is followed by a raswa a. So what sandhi is going to take place? The purva rupa sandhi is going to take place. That only the purva rupa, only this o, this remains, and this a is hidden by the avagraha chinna. So this is the purva rupa sandhi. So what sandhi is happening between rasaha and api? Actually 3-step sandhi. First and foremost, the uttva sandhi, then the guna sandhi, and then the purva rupa sandhi, due to which rasaha and api, it combines as this rasopi. Okay. And then there is a sandhi between api and asya. What sandhi is this? So this is yana sandhi, which means this ikara will be replaced by a ya. That is yana sandhi. So rasopi asya becomes rasopyasya. That is what you see in the Mula Shloka. Okay, so I hope all these points are clear. And then lastly, you spot Anuswara Sandhi here also. That the Padanta Makara, which is followed by a consonant, changes into this Anuswara. So this is yet again another Sandhi, Anuswara Sandhi. And these are all the Sandhis we can spot in this particular Shloka. And again, as usual, all the Sandhi details and the entire word by word breakdown of this particular Shloka will be in the PDF sheet that you can download from the link in the description box. Now let us move on and start the decoding of the Shloka. Okay, so as usual, let us spot a Kriya Pada and start with that. And in this particular shloka, we can spot two Kriya Padas, Vinivartante and Nivartate. So let us start with this first one, Vinivartante. This means some things, they turn back. They turn back, they return, they retract in that sense. And this Kriya Pada is coming from the dhatu, Vrit dhatu. See, Vrit dhatu is just like As dhatu. Asti is, Vartate is, happens. But along with this Upsarga, Ni, and we can take both the upsargas, vi and ni, along with these upsargas, the meaning become to turn back. Nivartate, turns back, returns. Okay. So that is the meaning I'm taking here. Turn back. Okay. And what is the form? So this combination here is in lat lakara, that is present tense, prathama purusha and bahuvachanam. That is why, since it is bahuvachanam, that is why I'm putting in the bracket they. That I don't know who they are or what they are, but they turn back. That is the meaning of this Kriya Pada, Vinivartante. Okay, so we are starting with this Kriya Pada, and immediately we have a follow-up question that Ke Vinivartante. What all turns back? And from the shloka we have Vishayaha Vinivartante. Vishayaha, we have seen this word before, more so in the recent shlokas that we covered. Vishaya here in the context of shloka means sense objects. Okay, Vishayaha, this is just the Prathama Vibhakti Bahuvachanam form. That Vishayaha Vinivartante, the sense objects, they turn back. The sense objects, they retract in that sense. Okay, so this is easy. We can move on. And now I have the question that Kasya, that for whom these sense objects, they turn back. And the response is Dehinaha Vishayaha Vinivartante. Dehinaha. This word form is coming from the Pratipadika Dehin. And what is the meaning of Dehin? Dehin means something that has acquired a deha, something that has acquired a body. So we are talking about the embodied soul. We are talking about the jiva, basically. And this Dehinaha is just the Shashti Vibhakti Ekvachanam form of this Dehin Pratipadika. So our sentence is Dehinaha Vishayaha Vinivartante. That for a jiva, for an embodied soul, the sense objects, they turn back. Okay, and now if we move on, so we have a Visheshana, we have an adjective. That for what kind of a jiva the sense objects turn back. And the response is Niraharasya Dehinaha Vishayaha Vinivartante. So the adjective we have for this dehin, for this embodied soul jiva here, is this nirahara. And what or who is a nirahara? So nirahara, this is a samasa, it is a avyayi bhava samasa. And the meaning is aharasya abhavaha iti nirahara. That one who is without ahara. Ahara means food. Okay. So one who is abstinent towards entertaining these sense objects. One who has starved himself for these sense objects. Basically, one who is not entertaining the consumption, the experiences of these sense objects. Because sense objects here are to be taken in the sense of that ahara, the food, that is these sense objects. And what kind of embodied soul? The jiva, the embodied soul, which is not partaking in them, which is not consuming, experiencing them. So nirahara can mean both abstinent and starved. But the more proper meaning within the context will be abstinent jiva. That one who is exercising this abstinence, exercising this control over not partaking into those sense objects. So niraharasya dehinaha vishayaha venivartante. That for such abstinent jivas, for such abstinent embodied souls, the sense objects also turn back. Okay, they also retract. Okay, so I hope the contextual meaning is clear here. The pratipadika was nirahara, since this is being used as an adjective for dehinaha. So this is also going to take the same form, the same gender, the same vibhakti, the same vachanam, and that is why this is also in Shashti Vibhakti Ek Vachanam, niraharasya. Niraharasya dehinaha. For an abstinent jiva, vishayaha, the sense objects, vinivartante, they turn back. That is the meaning so far. But then moving ahead, Krishna tells us something interesting. That even though for such embodied souls, the sense objects, they vinivartante, they turn back. But there is a way, there is a certain way they turn back. That is why I am asking, katham vinivartante? How do they turn back? And Krishna tells us that niraharasya dehinaha rasa varjam vishayaha vinivartante. Rasa varjam. So here this varjam, this implies the sense of accept. Okay, leaving that, accept. And accept what? Accept the rasa. Rasa is attachment towards something, the liking or the want or the desire towards that thing. So here Krishna is telling us that for an abstinent jiva, even though the sense objects, they turn back, but rasa varjam, accept the attachment towards it, accept the desire towards it. That even though that the sense objects may be out of bound to them, out of bond for them, they turn back, they are not around the sense objects anymore, but the attachment that is within them towards that sense objects, the desire, the want that is within them, that does not leave them. Okay, that still remains within them. Okay, so that is the meaning of the shloka. This pada rasa varjam, this is an avyayam. Okay, this varjam, as I told you, this varjam implies the sense of leaving that, accept. So rasa varjam, accept rasa, accept asakti towards it, accept attachment towards it. Okay, and this entire becomes an avyayam. Okay. So I hope all these words, all these padas, they are clear. Okay, so moving on to the next line, we have another kriya pada, nivartate. See, this is the same kriya pada that we encountered before. The only difference was, there it was prathama purusha bahuvachanam, here it is prathama purusha ekvachanam. Okay, and then there also was this additional vi, upsarga. Here we don't have that upsarga, but the meaning still remains the same. Nivartate, nivartete, nivartante. All these are prathama purusha form. In the same vrit dhatu, latlakara, all that detail is same. Nivartate, nivartete, nivartante. Nivartante was what we saw earlier. Nivartate is what we have now. So I am not going to again expand this entire thing. Nivartate means it turns back. And again, if you move on, so the question is, kaha nivartate? What turns back? And now Krishna is telling us, rasa api nivartate. That even the attachment, this turns back. Okay, rasa again coming from the pratipadika rasa. This is again the prathama vibhakti ekvachanam rupa. Api, this is an avyam, that means also. That attachment also, even the attachment, nivartate, turns back. Okay, and moving on, again we have this question kasya, that for whom? And we already know the subject here, that we are talking about for an embodied soul, for a jiva. So he is not repeating that, he is just using a sarvanama, that asya, that for him what? Asya dehinaha. Asya niraharasya dehinaha. So for this abstinent jiva, rasahapi nivartate, it also turns back. So this asya, which is coming from the sarvanama idam, this is just referring to that jiva, that embodied soul. Okay, so idam here also taking the same form. Shashti vibhakti ekvachanam. Asya. For this or for him, that is for this jiva. Okay, so moving ahead, Now this information is important because earlier we saw that Vishayaha Vinivartante Rasa Varjam, that accept rasa. But now even the rasa nivartate, even the attachment turns back. How? Kim kritva rasaha nivartate. And Krishna is telling us that rasa api param drishtva nivartate. Drishtva. Drishtva means having seen. But again, this seeing is not that physical seeing. We are talking about who? Param drishtva. This param basically means Paramatma. So having seen the Paramatma in the sense of having witnessed, having done the sakshatkar of that param, of that supreme, having witnessed the supreme truth, rasa api nivartate, even the attachment, it goes away. Even the attachment, it turns back. Okay, so that is what Krishna is saying. Again, param coming from the pratipadika para. This para, see, this para also gives the sense of other. But this para here is being used in the sense of that param, that supreme truth, that highest principle, okay, that Brahman, that Atman, whatever way you want to address that. So that para is that highest principle. And this form param, why? Because this is Dvitiya Vibhakti Ekvachanam. Why Dvitiya Vibhakti? Because param drishtva. That this param is the object, is the karma of this kridanta drishtva. Okay, that is why this is in Dvitiya Vibhakti. And drishtva, of course, is coming from, we have seen this kridanta so many times before, drish dhatu modified using tva pratyaya. Tva pratyaya gives the flavor of after doing, having done the action. So having done what? Having witnessed. Okay, again, this is not that physical seeing. Of course, we are talking about that highest principle. So this is an experience. This is a sakshatkar in a sense we generally don't know. So having witnessed the supreme truth, asya rasah api nivartate. That even the attachment for such a jiva nivartate, turns back. Okay, that is the entire meaning of the shloka. Okay, so now let us quickly see the anvaya along with the anuvada also. Niraharasya dehinaha vishayaha rasavarjam vinivartante. The sense objects turn away, they disappear. For whom? Niraharasya dehinaha. For a person who does not entertain them with his senses. But then there is a catch to this turning away, and that catch is this rasavarjam. That vishayaha rasavarjam vinivartante. The sense objects, they turn back but accept the attachment. Leaving back the attachment towards them, leaving back the desire, the want for them. Parantu asya rasa api param drishtva nivartate. But even this attachment also disappears for this person. How? Param drishtva. Upon realizing the supreme, upon realizing the supreme truth, upon witnessing the highest principle. Okay, so that was it. That was the entire shloka. See, as Krishna explained to us in the previous shloka, that this Sthit Prajna people, and there are few people, the yogis, they have this capacity to at will withdraw their senses from the field, from the sense objects. Such a practice is called pratyahara in this yoga shastra, and there are different ways of approaching it. For a Raj Yoga, for a person who is following this Raj Yoga, so through Hat Yoga, through pranayama exercises, they are able to do this pratyahara. Then for a person who is in Bhakti Yoga Marga, so for such devotees, this practice comes very natural to them because their entire being is completely focused, completely diverted towards the Supreme, towards the God. That is the Bhakti Yogi. And then for a Jnana Yogi, such a practice is possible by developing a strong discriminating intelligence, by developing a very precise and very sharp viveka that lets us see the futility of enjoying these temporary sense pleasures. So with that discriminating faculty, we are able to develop this, we can see through that temporary, the changing nature of all these things, and we can develop this practice of pratyahara by at will withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. But then without these ways, without these proper ways, for normal people like us, at times we also feel this aversion towards the sense objects. Now, a lot of times when we are not well, when we are ill, so a lot of things we enjoy doing at the time when we are physically not capable of doing that, or physically we are not comfortable, we maintain a withdrawal from these sense objects. We maintain a distance from these sense objects. Okay, then at times of misery, at times of sorrows, if something bad has happened in your family, at the time of great sorrow, at those times also we feel aversion towards these sense objects. So we maintain our distance from them. We withdraw our senses from these sense objects. That is there, but that is only circumstantial. That is only situational. Even though we have maintained distance from those sense objects, even though we are not partaking into them, but such a aversion, such a such a so-called pratyahara is only temporary. It is only circumstantial, and as soon as momentarily temporary physical physical discomfort, or that misery or that sorrow, as soon as that will go away, we are again going to go back in our original ways, and then we are again going to go back to partaking those sense objects, because such is a liking, such is a attachment towards those sense objects. It is not the attachment is not just developed in this lifetime. In all the innumerable past lives that we have lived, in all those past lives, in all those lives indulging into these sense objects, we have developed these strong vasanas, strong mental impressions of that. So the asakti towards them, the rasa towards them is much stronger than we know, because we only can judge in this lifetime, but it is carry forward from all our sensuous experiences that we have had in our past lives also. So such impressions, such vasanas are very strong. So that is what Krishna is telling us, that you may maintain a temporary distance from them, and they may seem to go away, the sense objects may seem to turn away, but the rasa towards them, the attachment towards them, the liking towards them won't go away. But then he also tells the way that even this liking, even this attachment, the rasa will also completely vanish, completely go away when we can experience the self, when we can transcend this little ego and we can come to experience the self. Param drishtva rasahapi nivartate. That is what he is telling. Okay, and see, this is also very practical. Chinmayananda in his commentary explains this beautiful point, that in different planes of consciousness. What are the different planes of consciousness? So the Jagrata Avastha, the Swapna Avastha, the Sushupti Avastha. So in all these planes of consciousness, whatever is available in one plane of consciousness, that is not available in the second plane of consciousness. That means you may be full of misery in this waking state, but in the dream you may have a dream where you are living a life of a king. Okay, but then again when you wake up, all those kingly treatment, all those kingly experiences, all those sense objects that were available to you in that plane of consciousness, in that dream state, they won't be available in the waking state. They will vanish, they will go away. So such is the case when the ego is transcended. That when all these planes of consciousness is transcended, and then when we witness that ultimate state of consciousness, the God consciousness, in that state, all these fields of objects, all these sense objects, our attachment towards them, our liking towards them, everything goes away. Okay, so that is what Krishna is telling us, that param drishtva rasaha apini vartate, that on witnessing the truth, on experiencing that supreme truth, on transcending the ego, even all kinds of attachment, the deeply ingrained attachment also, they will fully disappear. Okay, so I think it's like a word of motivation for all of us, that keep at it, keep whatever path of yoga you are at, the bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, raja yoga, karma yoga, whatever path you are at in, ultimately the aim is to reach there. Okay, so it's like a very motivational thing, that keep at it. At the end, it is, as they say, Satchidanand, it is ultimate bliss. Okay, so a beautiful shloka again. I hope everything was clear. I hope the grammar points, everything was clear. If I missed out anything, it will be in the PDF sheet. You can download from the link in the description box. I will now take leave, and again, from now on, I'll be a bit more consistent in bringing out these videos. Thank you again for being patient here with me for such a long time, and I'll now take leave. I'll meet you in another video with another shloka. Until then, stay awesome, stay happy, keep learning Sanskrit. Vayam punah milamaha. Dhanyavad.